We've just had another 2025 programme management board meeting, and I think when we were chatting just before we started this recording, we were saying it was felt like there were two main items and an approach to it, wasn't there? One was the internal kind of getting the message out there, getting ourselves organised work of 2025, and then two quite big policy chunky items of thought. So do you want to kind of kick us off and tell people about the work that we've been doing around developing 2025's message?
Yeah, it was a good meeting last week. It was nice to see everybody, and we launched our. It's called an annual report, but actually it's the story of our first 5 years, and it was launched just before Christmas. But I think we all recognise, with all the kind of busyness of Christmas, some people may not have seen the report yet, so we're going to get that back out again, I think, to all of our key contacts. That said, I think both you and I and others have already had contacts back from people who've read the report, really interested in what we've been doing and want to come and work with us. So I think for me, that's been a really positive and exciting step, really, that getting the message out there is bringing others along to want to talk and work with us. So that's really good. We also had a kind of first preview of our new website. One of the things we'd said last year was that we wanted to be better at getting our messages out there. And one of those steps was to have an up-to-date website that was, talked about who we are and what we're doing. So we got the first look at that, and we all agreed that we must have the website fully bilingual. So we're getting that done now, and then hopefully we're going to be able to get that launched in the next few weeks or so. So two really exciting things about starting to get a bit more clarity about our messaging purpose, I thought.
Yeah, and I think because we're a big part of how it's been led and how we've worked, people have just got on with things, haven't they? We've had lots of gatherings, we've got lots of things done, and we haven't had the time or the resource to kind of document the journey. And I think you're right, when you look back at that 5-year report as it is, what it does is it contains hopefully something for everyone. There's some data in there, some hard stats around things we've done, there's some stories in there, and there's also some like practical examples of things we've done. So we've tried to write it, haven't we, in that way, and that's kind of the essence of what 2025 is all about, blending those three things together. And as you say, hopefully if there is something for everyone to latch onto, we'll get more people who are interested in joining the movement, because that's what we want, isn't it, from all of that?
Absolutely. And I think we kind of built on the sort of head, heart, hand thinking, didn't we, with the kind of other two major items on the agenda, really. One was a piece of research that's been done across the whole of the UK around, I think, really what matters in communities. And the other one was a paper that we had from our colleague who's involved with the ACES Hub about trauma-informed communities. We had a really good debate about that, didn't we? And where we kind of, where we go next, really, with what the research was telling us and the proposal we had around trauma-informed communities. I don't know about you, I was quite surprised actually in the research paper about how important safety was to people.
And I think we had a good conversation about that, didn't we, in terms of where it sat with everything else. And I suppose if people don't feel safe, you can't do anything else in that sense. And I think that the thing that struck us, I think, in the discussion when we were looking at that paper in particular, was how it was like a lot of things that we've seen before. There was a lot of how-to doing things in there, and this is what people have thought about. But there was no focus on, so this is what we want to sort out. This is the key problem that we're going to mobilise around. So it was brilliant and is full of really interesting information. And when we have the website, obviously we'll post all of these things on it so that people can see. But I think it kind of, you said, and a few people said, it drew out the difference of the approach that we're trying to take now across North Wales by using a proper, our systems leadership model that we've built here, which is thinking about, okay, before we begin, what is it we're focusing on? Not taking solutions from other places and trying to fit them in, but to actually deeply think about it. And I think you're right, that kind of then led into applying that methodology to the trauma-informed strategy, because we've then said, okay, that's really interesting. How do we mobilise this? And that's where the kind of thinking around creating a Just Do Tea came from, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And I think so the next kind of step in that work is going to be to craft the problem that we're trying to address. Because you're right, it's so easy sometimes, isn't it, to, when you think about that piece of research, to kind of go, oh, okay, quite a lot of people don't feel safe where they live, so this needs to happen. And actually, we don't really know what do people mean by feeling safe? what is it that's making people feel unsafe? What's happened? So I think, yeah, the kind of long journey we've been on together in the last few years has really taught me that really getting to the nub of what the problem is you're wanting to address first, and what the data tells us, how we feel about it, and then practically what we think we can do, is really reaping rewards for all of the Just Do teams. And that's the next step we need to take with that, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think one of the things that you said there that reminded me is this work we're now doing on purpose from within Do Well and with other things. And we talked about it in our review of the 5 years, is that there's a kind of school now where people are saying, so what's your belief system? And we'll use that as part of your purpose. And that's okay, but that needs to be challenged by evidence, because you could strongly believe something, but it could be wrong, or you could just have on the wrong end of the stick, or whatever it might be. So I think that first phase of understanding what the problem is has got to involve compassionate conversations where people kind of respect each other and understand, because I may have a view of how unsafe I feel, but I'm not cited on something that actually then might make me feel less safe or more safe, but at least it's not just a feeling, there's some data and stuff behind it as well. And we all have a preference, a go-to kind of preference, but if we recognize that we can take a complete view of it, then it helps us think about things differently. And that's the essence of building our partnerships, isn't it? Because if a problem's clear, people can then think about what gifts they can bring to help address that problem. I think that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. So I think it was exciting because it was our first meeting of the year, and we've got a kind of new work stream to develop alongside all the others that are continuing. So more I guess more news to follow on this over the coming months.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your time, Claire. I know you're really busy, so we'll get this put out onto the website next week. Have a great weekend.
And you have a nice weekend. Take care. Bye.